Most people think go-to-market strategy requires weeks of research, expensive consultants, and big teams. But the real bottleneck isn't expertise. It's about having the right chain of prompts that kind of gets you 80 to 90% of the way there before a human touches it. So before we get into it, a little bit about me. I'm Will, head of GTM at RevGrowth, where we've built outbound systems for 50 plus clients and generated over $2 million in sales pipeline through cold email alone. And in this video, I'll be breaking down the 6 AI prompts we use to build complete go-to-market strategies from scratch. So in this video, you'll see why we run these prompts in a specific order, how each prompt feeds into the next, and what outputs you actually use from each step to actually get campaigns that convert. Most teams approach go-to-market strategy the same way they did 5 years ago. So random research, disconnected Google Docs, random sort of ICPs, and messaging written way too early before they actually understand the market. The issue isn't that people lack expertise, it's that they're building without a system. They jump straight into the tactics before nailing down exactly who they're selling to and why those people actually make sense to contact. What we figured out at RevGrowth after running campaigns across 20 plus niches is that order matters more than the specific tools that you're using. And if you run the wrong prompt at the wrong time, you end up with outputs that sound good, but just don't convert, right? Like if I ask GPT, hey, write me a campaign, it can read. Like it'll read well and it'll look like a solid campaign, but at the end of the day, go-to-market strategy really comes down to who is the best fit for your services and write it in a way that they care and take action. So before getting into each prompt individually, I want to give you a high-level view of each prompt and sort of the entire engine. So first piece is the deep market research, and then we do a TAM mapping, and then we do an ideal customer profile validation. And then we do a company account sourcing. So like where are the best sources? And then we do a keyword generation for each of those segments. And then the last piece is the message creation. So each of these prompts depend on the previous one being done properly. So you can't write good messaging without knowing your ICP. You can't validate your ICP without mapping out your TAM. And you can't map out your TAM without understanding your market first. This isn't about running 6 random AI prompts. It's about feeding each of these outputs into the next one. So you end up with a strategy that's connected from the research all the way to the actual words that you're writing in the email. So prompt 1, deep market research. The deep market research prompt pulls all the relevant information specific to what would be useful for go-to-market knowledge for the company that you're actually building for. So core business model, customer segments, revenue models, market positioning. And the idea is that you're going to paste this prompt into Claude or GPT. At the moment, I'm really liking Claude Opus 4.6, but depending on when you're watching this video, new models might be coming out that are stronger than Opus 4.6, and that's completely normal. Just make your best judgment call on that, on which model to use. But at the moment, honestly, I think every single model could run this for you. In the past, what we used to do is for the more strategic research stuff, we'd use GPT. And then for the messaging stuff, we'd use Claude. So what you'll do is you'll feed this prompt right here into Claude or GPT, whatever you prefer. And it'll just sort of output a extremely detailed market analysis for you. So as well, you should feed it just more context of like who, like what you do, what products you have. Like you could just feed it like the client name, right? And then it'll look at the web, it'll pull up their website. But ideally, you also sort of import an onboarding form to use as the context to start the research. And then the output of this becomes the context for every single prompt that we run after this. So this is really just the foundation that we're building. And this replaces weeks of research just because you're able to sort of map out every single TAM, and then you can prioritize which ones you want to go for before even moving on into the next prompts. The second prompt is the TAM mapping. So now you turn that research into actual numbers of like we know these segments, these ones have the most potential. What sub-industries can we actually reach out to? And it just kind of breaks down your market into segments and shows you the potential for each of these ones. So really what you do at this point is you feed the output of the first prompt into this one to build out those segments. The idea here is that this prompt forces you to sort of prioritize which segments you want to go out to and market to first. Realistically, like if you get 15 different segments, you're not going to be able to reach out to every single one unless you have an unbelievable amount of volume at your disposal. And when I say volume, I mean like inboxes that you can actually send emails from. So realistically, pick your 3 to 5 top industries, test those, give them like at least a month each to sort of test different variants, and just because every single market will be different. And then from there, but the real benefit is that you have your entire TAM mapped out, and then you know which markets to prioritize. And this is the prompt for that. Next is your ICP validation. So really the idea here is that when thinking of ICP, instead of thinking of like the list criteria of like they have to be 11 to 50 head count, like this isn't so much the list filters. This is more the behaviors and motivations to help you build the messaging. And that's really what we're looking for. It's like what pain points these people feel when they're dealing with your types of products and services, and how can you frame it in a way that makes it interesting for them. And then you'll be outputting the onboarding form here. And I'll actually add this to the other prompts, but onboarding form here, and then the output of step 2 in here as well. Moving on to prompt 4. So account sourcing. So here, as the name kind of implied, it's like what sources can you use depending on this market that make the most sense for you. So it'll give you a variety of different data sources that you could use, which ones would be the highest quality for you to check out first. So it'll tell you things like use Apollo, Clay data, use Prospeo data, and then it'll start getting into the more like a custom data source on a government website that you could scrape to get these types of contacts. So try out that one. Yeah, so it just gives you a full breakdown of all the different sources you can use. So prompt 5, the keyword generation. So here, again, still using Claude. As I said, for every single model, we'll be using this. But this is the specific keywords that we want to use to help us build the lead list. So like those like list filters, the demographics of like, what are these, how do these companies describe themselves? What, like really the idea is just how to get an ultra targeted, lead list built out. Yeah. So you'll be able to paste this pretty much just directly into Apollo or Clay or Prospeo just to help you build this lead list. And then you'll get a bunch of different job titles you could reach out to, and then keywords to run. So this will build pretty much your like 90% of the way there to have that like list, or like the inputs you need to build a list. And then prompt 6, the actual cold email generation. So this is probably the most, just because you get to actually see how all that research turns into actual messaging for you. But again, it's also a place where a lot of errors in go-to-market happen. So what it'll do is create unique variations based on the length of the message. So 30, 45, 60 words. And then as well, different offers, different pain points, different case studies if you fed it, those case studies in the onboarding form. And then just different complexity. Some markets will have less saturation, so you'll be able to get away with a simpler pitch with a little bit more. And again, it just depends on also like market education. Like if you have a market that doesn't know what you're really selling and they're new to, for example, like you have some type of AI generated offer, they've never really needed AI before. So there is maybe a use case where a longer email that describes and gives more context into what you do makes more sense. So that's why we just test this instead of us making that decision. Let the market decide, like what are reply rates looking like, and more importantly, what are positive reply rates looking like, right? So yeah, at this point, you feed the entire prompt, or all of the outputs from the previous prompts into this. So yeah, the market research, the TAM segments, the ICP, the account data, the keywords, and then this will generate super strong copy for you that we've used at RevGrowth to send over probably 5 million emails at this point. And again, the point of these prompts is to get you 80 to 90% of the way there. At the end of this, human review is still very much needed, and like tweaking and like how you even output these tests. Like there's still a lot of pieces that you need to be sort of controlling and thinking about, but at least all the components that AI excels in, for example, like research, and just putting together all of these ways to find these companies based on keywords that are most commonly used. It's all research that doesn't really benefit from having a human doing it. Not at least not the majority of it. But I think the fine tuning, the tweaking of it is where a human comes in, and you find the majority of the work can be done with AI, and then you get into a good spot. And really the idea here is before starting a new go-to-market strategy and like having to review all of your different strategies that you've done in the past, and how you could potentially approach this, you just start with context and something already built for you to tweak instead of starting with a blank page and you having to remember sort of the standards that you like, the different campaigns that you ran in the past, maybe even looking at like previous clients that you've worked with and seeing how that performs and that you could potentially replicate for this client. The idea is start with something and then you can tweak it from there. So these prompts don't replace thinking, but they remove the chaos so you can start thinking better and remove some of that tedious work. Now, if you want these 6 prompts for yourself, you can head into the description of this video where you'll be able to find this Gamma doc and copy paste all of these prompts for yourself and apply it to your go-to-market strategies. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.